We are in the month of Rajab, the month which is known to us, the month Shahrul Isra wal Miraaj, the month of the night journey and the ascension to the heaven, and the month which Salat came as a gift to the nation of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this Isra and Miraaj journey, if we were to endeavor into its jurisprudence and understand why Allah Azza wa Jal began the journey of Sayyidina Rasulullah from Makkah al-Mukarramah and allowed the beginning of the ascension, the Miraaj, to begin from Masjid al-Aqsa في فلسطين. اللهم حرر فلسطين. اللهم كن عون إخوانا في فلسطين. اللهم كن عونهم في غزة. اللهم ربنا احفظ دماءهم وأعراضهم وأولادهم ونساءهم ورجالهم. اللهم ربنا انصر المجاهدين يجاهدون في سبيلك. اللهم استدد رميهم يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين ثم آمين. If we look at the reasons why Allah chose Al-Aqsa to be the platform of ascension, and something happened in Al-Aqsa, something which is profound, which is the first time adhan has been called in the history of Islam. We think of adhan to be first proclaimed in Medina al-Munawwara, and the proclaimer Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu, the freed slave of Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu wa ardah, the one who said to his wife, لا تقولي وكربتا بل قولي وفرحتا اليوم ألقى محمدا وصحبه. The one who said on his deathbed to his wife, when his wife was mourning and she knew that her beloved husband Sayyidina Bilal is about to enter the nether realm, and she began to wail the way a wife wails for the husband. First she said, what a depressing day, a day of sorrow for me. And he said to her, do not say this, my beloved wife, but say, what a rejoiceful day it is for Bilal, for today he will meet his beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions, Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar. This is the reality of the muhibbeen, the lovers of Islam, and the lovers of the one who carried Islam, Sayyidina Muhammad and the companions, that they understood that the companionship in this dunya will not cease, but it will continue into the nether realm. Allahu Akbar. For we believe adhan first was proclaimed in Medina Munawwara, but it was actually proclaimed by Sayyidina Jibreel in one narration by a special angel who Allah created just for the adhan. The adhan to be called for all 124,000 prophets and messengers to pray and be led by the Imam of creation, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, fi Masjid al-Aqsa. And we have to understand the masjid in that time was a land with no walls. A certain area was allocated where Sayyidina Sulaiman, Sayyidina Dawood, Sayyidina Isa, Sayyidina Yahya, Sayyidina Zakaria chose that maqam as the musalla. Sayyidina Maryam radiallahu anha. For they built small walls to show the area where the prophets of the past prayed, and our Blessed Mary used to pray as well. For Sayyidina Muhammad stood in that spot, and they heard the adhan being called for the very first time. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And just imagine the Sahabi, the prophets and messengers are hearing this adhan. And they're gazing upon their beloved brother and master in message of Islam, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the mu'adhin is Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, the Archangel Gabriel. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Then the iqami was made. And the angels themselves, when they heard qad iqamatis salah, they came and they stood in rows behind the 124,000 prophets and messengers of Allah Azza wa Jal. And فبدأ الصلاة سيدنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Sayyidina Muhammad began the first salat on earth in Jama'ah. Contemplate. Why do we love Palestine? Why is Al-Aqsa in our hearts? Why is it beloved to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Why is it beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal to be the second masjid ever constructed? Sayyidina Abi Dharr al-Ghifari radiallahu anhu wa arda asked Sayyidina Rasulullah, what was the first house built on earth to be a form of a musalla to worship Allah in? He said, Al-Ka'b al-Sharifa, the Kaaba itself. And he said, what was next? So he said, Masjid al-Aqsa. And he said, what was the faragh baynahum fil waqt? What was the duration and time between them in their construction? For Sayyidina Rasul said, 40 aam. 40 years after the construction of Mecca, of the Kaaba, by Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then 40 years later, Masjid al-Aqsa was allocated to be the second holiest mosque on planet Earth, after Mecca and Medina. It is beloved to us because it signifies the first time Tawheed was proclaimed and was a prelude to the connection between the slave to the Lord Allah. And the adhan was called not at the beginning of the Isra, but it was called at the beginning of the Miraaj, the ascension. That's why Salat al-Mu'min, the Salat is Miraaj al-Mu'min. That's why the prayer that we pray is the ascension of the Musalli between him and his Lord Allah. Because Salat was gifted not on earth. The Salat was not made obligatory on earth like legislations were made. The Haram and Halal. That was the only legislation that was legislated in the heavens, made farad, made obligatory. And that was the 5 daily prayers. When Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was gifted by Allah, was gifted a connection, a sila, bain al-abd wal-rabb, not only for Sayyidina Muhammad, but for ummati Sayyidina Muhammad, for the ummah of Sayyidina Rasulullah. Al-Aqsa itself needs now to be in our dua constantly. And the people of the Muslimin who live in Palestine, it has become the norm. It's become like a form of normality that we expect to hear the death and the murder and the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and Palestine in the West Bank. It's become normal to us that we don't really have this emotional want to make a dua for them. It's as if we're getting bored of the supplication that we're making for Palestine. Every day, after each salah, it has become normal. Do not let it become normal. Every time you hear a situation happening in Gaza, in Palestine, let it be strange to you. And always make dua for them. Because the goal of the Zionists are to get rid of, as we mentioned, to make Gaza a rubble land. We mentioned this a few months back. This is why they want to carp bomb Gaza. Not for their settlers. But they need that strip. Because that strip connects to the West Bank, Jerusalem. And that becomes an easy pathway for their allies who live abroad, who are past the oceans, like Europe. They only can come through where? They're not able to come through Turkey, nor Syria anymore, nor Lebanon. So they're trying to make that land a rubble land, unlivable, so the ships can dock there and they can begin their march towards their goal, and that is to build the third temple of Solomon. When Sayyidina Rasulullah said Umran Bayt al-Maqdis, and the word Bayt, Allah calls it Masjid al-Aqsa. The Prophet calls it Umran Bayt al-Maqdis, a holy place. Some ulama have already explained it. But we endeavor into our timeline now, and the Asharat al-Sa'ah and the hadithat of the Asharat al-Sa'ah, will understand that they want to build their holy house, the Zionists. And they want to build the third temple on that platform, the Aqsa platform, which is not just the mosque in the Dome of the Rock. This is what they want to do. So keep Palestine, Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa, the Muslims in Palestine and all over the world in your dua constantly. If I want to know where my iman stands, then see my emotional connection to my Muslim brothers and sisters overseas who I don't know and being oppressed. Am I feeling some sort of sorrow? Do I feel their pain? Because the Prophet said, Ummati ka jasad wahid. Ka jasad, ummati ka jasad. The Prophet said, my nation is one body. If one body limb is afflicted with pain, the rest of the organs in the body rush to its aid. Are we rushing to the aid? In dua, at least, to ponder upon this. And if I feel there's no connection, then I need to increase in my dua for them. Even though it's not coming from the heart, but soon it will come from the heart. And I have to follow the footsteps of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين استغفر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأفضل الصلاة والتسليم على سيد المرسلين أبي القاسم الهاشمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. على رأس هذا الكون نعلم محمدا، على رأس هذا الكون نعلم محمد، علت فجميع الخلائق تحت ظلاله، لدى الطور موسى نودي يخلع، واحمد في القرب لم يؤمر بخلع نعاله. A famous poet, the lover of Islam, Quran and Sunnah, the lover of seerah. He understood the meaning of the Isra and Miraaj. He learned the seerah, he learned the Quran, and he learned the ahadith al-Nabawi Sharif. And he came with beautiful doors of poetry to comprise and summarize the journey of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the maqam al-mahmud and the status of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. على رأس هذا الكون, on top of the heads of creation, was the sandal of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. يعني when Sayyidina Muhammad عرج إلى السماء عرج بكله ونعله. that when Sayyidina Muhammad ascended to the heavens, he ascended with all his clothing, even the sandals he was wearing. على رأس هذا الكون نعل محمدا علت فجميع الخلائق تحت ظلاله. The creation at that time, underneath the throne of Allah Azza wa Jal, whether they wanted or not, they were underneath the sandals of Sayyidina Rasulullah. When Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam entered a maqam حال رباني لا يعلم حقيقته إلا ربه سبحانه وتعالى. He entered into a realm which no one knows its reality except Allah Azza wa Jal. لما وقف سيدنا جبريل في مكانه. When Jibreel alayhi salam stood still, in one hadith, he stood shaking like a bird when he becomes wet with water. Shaking and shivering, fearing that he will not go beyond the order of Allah Azza wa Jal because of that suhbah, because of that companionship he had with Sayyidina Rasulullah. Thinking, now I have to leave my companion. And he said, go forth, O Muhammad, for you are the only creation who ever took this step extra, and no one before you and no one after you will take that step. تقدم يا محمد فأنت مأذون. Go forward, O Muhammad, because you are permitted by Allah Azza wa Jal. And at that time, it is said in some tafsir that Sayyidina Muhammad hamma, that now he wanted to take off his sandals to enter the al-makan al-muqaddasa. Sayyidina Musa, فَاخْلَعْنَا عَلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. Take off your sandals, O Musa, because now you are in a holy place. But Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not ordered to take off his sandals. What does that give us of understanding? That whoever متعلق بالنبي يكون معه أينما كان. That whoever is connected and whatever is connected with Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will be with him wherever he is. And that is Al-Firdaus, insha'Allah ta'ala. And for the muhabbin fi dunyahu. And for the lovers of Sayyidina Rasulullah in this world. By implementing the sunnah of Sayyidina Rasulullah. Loving him to the point that they will start to see him in their dreams. يُبَشِّرُهُمْ بِرَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. And he will give them good news of the mercy of Allah. So this is what this poetry is mentioning. And ظِلِّهِ, it mentions the shadow of the sandals of Sayyidina Rasulullah. فوق العرش. The famous hadith, يوم لا ظل إلا ظل الله. The day where there's no shadow except the shadow Allah produces. And this is ظل العرش. As well, this is signifying that you will not receive ظل العرش if you don't walk on the path of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How beautiful is Islamic poetry. In itself, it has ilm, it has nur. But you have to endeavor, you can't just take it as value. This is the beauty of the phrasing. يعني سطور من كلام الحال على لسان العلماء والمحبين. You have to understand this spiritual and emotional phrasing of these ulama. Sometimes we say it as weed, but you have to endeavor in the phrasing to understand. They're actually they have summarized a certain event that took place in the life of Sayyidina Rasulullah. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.